Today, my story comes from Adam Jackson at the Green Market Report. It's also about our favorite THC isomer, Delta-8. It's entitled Texas Court Says No to Delta-8 Ban. Texas's hemp journey hasn't been smooth. A Texas court upheld a temporary injunction against the state ban on Delta-8 THC on Thursday, a win for a coalition of businesses and consumers contesting the ban's legitimacy. The block had initially been issued in response to an enforcement move by the Texas Department of State Health Services and its commissioner. Officials had declared via update to a consumable hemp program webpage that products exceeding 0.3% of Delta-9 THC as legal, but all other THC types, including any concentration of Delta-8, were illegal Scheduled 1 controlled substances. In a lawsuit, a CBD retailer, Hometown Hero, Create a Sig Temple Vape Store, and consumers Daryl Surif and David Walden alleged that the department did not adhere to the Texas Health and Safety Code and that the Administrative Procedures Acts of rulemaking criteria. The three-membered Third Court of Appeals confirmed that the group possesses the legal standing to dispute the department's decision. They also maintained a temporary injunction. Businesses reportedly cited drops in sales and job cuts due to the ban. They also highlighted personal stories of people benefiting from hemp products, including help with opiate addiction challenges. These testimonies, which included Texas veteran of Foreign Wars director, a government official, and public affairs, swayed the judges. The justices stated, viewing this evidence in light of the most favorable to the trial of the court's ruling, we conclude that there is some evidence to support the court's finding of probable, imminent, and irreparable injury in the interim. This ruling helps save an $8 billion industry and thousands of jobs, but it also gives adult consumers and veterans continued access to hemp-based cannabis products vital to their everyday lives, according to Hometown Hero CBD in the public statement on Thursday. A commissioner and the agency tried to act outside the legislative process and bounds without appropriate public notice or opportunity to be heard, Amanda G. Taylor, attorney for the challenging group, told Law 360. If the state does not appeal the recent opinion, that the case will transition back to a lower court for trial. Taylor asserts that the case aligns with the 2019 statute legalizing consumable hemp products in Texas. Earlier this month, a federal judge in Arkansas handed a hemp-based product makers some hope after a ruling that new state restrictions on Delta-8 violated the Dormant Commerce Clause and the 2018 Farm Bill. Texas's hemp journey has been rocky since last year. Last year, a political consultant and former top aide of the state's Agricultural Commission was indicted for felony theft charges and commercial bribery over a messy pay-to-play scheme, calling into question by political opponents of the commissioner's own proximity to the ruse. And that's the story. So basically, another state, I think this is the same thing that happened in Arkansas, is basically overruling a ban that was put on Delta-8 and psychoactive derived products from hemp to keep these businesses going. I'm interested in where they get this number, $8 billion. That seems like a large number for just Texas alone, but I could be mistaken. So that's Dr. Mark from High at 9 News. Be interested to hear what my panel members have to say about Again, another story about Delta-8.
I
Oh
I
God.
think I think they used the $8 million, Dr. Mark, just because it's Delta-8, just strictly for
$8
branding.
billion, dollars,
Yeah.
billion with a B.
Yes. Exactly.
We believe that that market is that big in that state. My
I
gosh.
mean, I believe the market overall is probably that big in that state, but not just for Delta-8.
Yeah.
Cannabis in general. I could say could be something that size. What are your thoughts
Well,
on
you
this?
just have a much larger addressable market if you could send these things over state lines, and the only thing that a user or consumer on a web page has to do is just click the yes, I'm 21 or over, and they'll be 2 clicks away from putting in their Visa card number to get products sent to them.
Well, we actually covered a story earlier this week that a study came out showing how that is the case, and that more and more young people are gaining access via the internet to these types of substances. Dr. T, what are your thoughts on
This
this?
this is all because everyone is afraid of Delta 9 THC, and so but they seem to be okay with an unknown. I when people put acid on the cannabis flower and convert CBD to many other isomers, including Delta 8, there are other isomers that are undetected in the sample that we don't know much about.
Hmm.
And so we're just saying it's okay
Oh
for
no,
you to use.
they are most certainly being detected. ISO THC. In fact, Jean, we had ISO THC tested in Aline Hallett's lab, and we find that it behaves a lot like the neuronal signaling impact of typical cannabinoids. We see upregulation of ERK phosphorylation, which is a hallmark of cannabinoid activation. But in an experiment with a very potent CB1 agonist, it doesn't appear to be acting at the CB1 receptor. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of unknown, not really unknowns. We actually know the chemistry and we know the compounds that are in there. What we don't know is what their impact is on long-term human exposure and chronic impact on human safety. We do not know that right now. And because these products are being made, and you said putting acid on CBD flower, they're actually taking CBD isolate, putting it into a huge reaction vessel and pouring acid into that. So they're basically doing active pharmaceutical ingredient manufacture in the back of the barn or airplane hangar or garage or a basement. And all of the regulation that exists in the regulated cannabis market is kind of off the table here. So yeah, leaving bad actors in there or leaving solvent in there or having these mixtures of isomers, which certainly are psychoactive. So now we know, we did some of the first research here, and we're actually investigating one of the other byproducts that's in Delta-8, which is called ISO 4-8. So that is in current investigation in Professor Hallett's lab. So we will publish our results, but this is extremely important research to show that these minor byproducts that are made in this chemical reaction, not extracted from a plant, are active, and we don't know what their long-term chronic impact is on human health.
Nor do we understand common drug interactions.
Exactly. There are many. Well, I attended a conference where they were demonstrating that standard analysis of a product doesn't reveal the other 7 or 8
You're,
isomers that may be
yeah,
involved.
you're absolutely right, because what happens is these isoisomers coalute with the natural isomers,
Right.
and it gives an inflated value on what they think Delta-8 is.
Hmm.
The response you get from most Delta-8 users is, yeah, it's not as potent as Delta-9. Well, one of the reasons why is because there's all this other crap that's in there. And when I say
Hmm.
crap, I don't mean to use that word in a pejorative way. These are compounds that are made from a derivative of another cannabinoid. They could be miracle drugs of the future. They should be relegated to researchers like myself and yourself to do the research in the lab, in animal models. Unfortunately, that's the way we develop drugs before we put them into humans. But right now, the fact that these are going into humans without really understanding long-term safety impact is a real roll of the dice. It really is. And all due to lack of access to quality cannabis. If cannabis was available, the market for recreational synthetics would go away.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and frankly, I have no idea what the hell you two have been talking about for the past 5 minutes. I would say
We
go
do. We know what we're
Texas,
talking about.
because I do not believe in banning any isomer or cannabinoid. Leave this up to science to determine. I think once you start banning one over the other, it's a slippery slope, and it's not up to lawmakers to figure this out.
So
I
you're
would
fine
much
with
rather leave it up
synthetics?
to the two of you to debate and figure out what should be the path forward for these products.
So you're fine with synthetics, Gretchen?
I am fine with letting science and the free market determine how we move forward with our cannabis products. Yes, Jason Beck, I'm not for lawmakers determining what should or not go into my body. No, F them.
F them.
Dr. Talleyrand, I believe you. Dr. Mark, you sound like you know what you're talking about. I don't know what half this shit you're talking about means, but I do believe that we should lead by science, and that's the way that we should go on path forward for this plant and for future drugs that may come from it.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabinoids have an incredible safety profile, so it's likely that we're not going to see people dropping dead from doing a Delta-8 pen. But the fact is that these things are acting on different sets of receptors that we just have no idea what the long-term impact is, especially on adolescents and developing minds. I hate to say about the kids, but Yasmin Siddiqui's research shows that certain, elevated use of cannabis during the formative years between gray matter and white matter separation in the brain's development is extremely important, and we need to understand that. It may not be a bad thing, but it may not be a good thing, but we need to do the research to really understand it.